Nice launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Good morning, everyone. It's April 17th, 2022, and on your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 as it waits for its 6:13 a.m. Pacific Time launch from Space Launch Complex 4 East on Vandenberg Space Force Base. My name is John Innsbrucker, and I'm joining you today from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California, just about 170 miles south of our launch site. Our mission today is NROL 85 for the National Reconnaissance Office, also referred to as the NRO. Today's flight carries a national security payload designed, built, and operated by the National Reconnaissance Office. NRO missions provide critical information to more than 500,000 government users, to include every member of the intelligence community, 24 domestic agencies, our nation's military, lawmakers, and decision makers. Now, per our customer's request, we will not be showing views of the payload, so we will be ending the webcast just after first stage landing. Today's flight is a special one, as it marks the first launch using a flight-proven booster for the NRO. Let's take a look at a recap of the previous mission this booster supported just 2 months ago.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and see life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right.
Now we've got a fantastic capability on orbit for the nation. So thank you all. You're why we are here today.
The NROL 87 mission you saw in the video launched only 2 months ago, and the same booster from that video will be launching today's payload into space. NROL 85 also marks the NRO's 61st launch since public disclosure of launches began in December 1996. And it also marks SpaceX's 14th launch of the year. Now, at T-minus 7 minutes 45 seconds, the conditions for today's launch are excellent. The weather is great, the front went through, and the high winds from yesterday are gone. Weather officer giving us a 0% probability of violation.
LD on countdown 1 with the hold authority comm check. Please respond with strength and clarity. NOPS OD.
Loud and clear.
STC.
Loud and clear.
TC.
Loud and clear.
PD.
Loud and clear.
That concludes the hold authority comm check.
Hearing comm checks on countdown net 1. Continuing on, the range is ready to support. They're green. Finally, both the vehicle and payload are in good health. Let's take a closer look at the rocket supporting today's mission. You can see on the screen the Falcon 9 surrounded with the condensing gas
Start of engine chill.
as the atmosphere touches the cold first and second stages. That Falcon 9 is our two-stage rocket. It stands 70 meters tall, making it just 3 meters short of the Taj Mahal in India. Now we're currently loading propellants onto both stages of the rocket. That began on time at T-minus 35-minute mark. And as we just heard, chill has begun at T-minus 7 minutes. Now starting from the bottom, we have the first stage. We also refer to that as the booster. That makes up over 60% of the length of the Falcon 9 vehicle. And while it's designed to be reflown multiple times with minimal refurbishment between flights, today's first stage will be flying for the second time, as I noted earlier. The first stage is powered by 9 Merlin engines, and that's where the 9 comes from in Falcon 9.
Stage 1 RP1 load is complete.
Fuel loading complete on the first stage. Now these Merlin engines get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the edge of space. 2 minutes and 20 seconds into today's flight, the first stage should separate from the second stage. And once the stages separate, the first stage will do a quick flip and execute 3 more burns to return to Slick 4 West, landing zone 4 that you can see here in a shot, and that's just 1,400 feet from where it took off. Now mounted on top of the first stage, just above that black cylinder, is the white second stage. Less than 10 seconds after stage separation, the second stage will light its single Merlin vacuum engine and continue to take the NROL 85 payload to its intended destination. Now, while very similar to the Merlin engines on the bottom of the first stage, the Merlin vacuum engine has a larger nozzle that allows the second stage to perform better in the vacuum of space. At the very top of the stack, kind of surrounded in clouds, but that is the payload fairing, inside of which is the payload safely enclosed. That's a 17-foot diameter fairing, and that's the large cylindrical structure you can see there with the tapered nose. Now the fairing protects that satellite from aerodynamic heating, loads, and contamination during ascent. And once we reach the vacuum of space,
are pressurizing for strong back retract.
Once we get to the vacuum of space, we'll jettison the fairing halves while stage 2 continues to orbit. And as you can tell by the clean paint on the fairing, this is new hardware. We will also be attempting to retrieve the fairing halves using our recovery vessel, NRC Quest. Now, the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, is responsible for developing, acquiring, launching, and operating America's reconnaissance satellites, as well as operating associated data processing facilities in support of national security. These sophisticated systems are used to develop military targeting data, support international humanitarian relief operations, and assess the impact of natural disasters. As a reminder per the NRO, we will not be sharing any views from the second stage today. We'll be ending our webcast shortly after the planned first stage landing at the T+8 minute mark. We're just inside T-minus 4 minutes and counting. All systems continue to be go for an on-time launch. Range is green, weather is excellent, vehicle and payload continue to be healthy. Now, if for some reason we are not able to launch today, we do have a backup window tomorrow about 15 minutes earlier. Right now you can see the strong back is retracting away from the Falcon 9. The clamps opened up a little bit earlier. We're now moving away. It's moving from a position of 90 degrees upright to about 77 degrees. This is different from our East Coast launches where we move a couple of degrees at first and then pull further away at liftoff. Now we're coming up on T-minus 3 minutes, at which time loading of liquid oxygen on the first stage should be complete, and we'll hear the closeout call. And at that point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are...
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
There we go. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. That means we're still loading LOX on the second stage, but we've got almost 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen on the Falcon 9 right now. Meanwhile, the strongback is fully reclined at that 77-degree position. It's ready for liftoff. You can see a little bit of the views in those close-ups where you saw the umbilicals stretching out. They're carrying the gas, communications, commands, and propellants to the Falcon 9 second stage. Now, next up, coming up in about 25 seconds, we ought to hear completion of loading liquid oxygen onto the second stage, and that will complete propellant loading for flight. And going a little farther into the countdown at T-minus 60 seconds, the rocket's internal flight computers on the first and second stages will take over the launch countdown, and just inside of 2 seconds, we'll light the Merlin 1D engines. Falcon 9 will command the ground to release the hold down clamps at T0 as we reach liftoff thrust. Waiting to hear the call out of liquid oxygen and load complete on the second stage.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
That's what we're waiting for. We're on the mark. And right now, the NROL 85 payload team continues to be go, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds. We're now venting down the strongback.
Gas launch closeouts.
That's what they call the gas launch closeouts. That's why you're seeing the large cloud coming off the strongback as we bleed off the pressure and drain the liquid oxygen in the line. Makes for a great show right now in the pre-dawn morning out at Vandenberg. Coming up on 60 seconds when we'll hear the start-up call-out. Start-up call-out on the flight computers.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
MD is go for launch.
Now you've heard the call out coming up on T-minus 30 seconds. Mission Director, go for launch. Everything looking good for Falcon 9 and NROL 85.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff the Falcon 9. Go NROL 85.
Pitching downrange. Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
We're T-plus 42 seconds into the NROL 85 mission. We heard that first call
Power
out.
and telemetry nominal.
And power and telemetry are nominal. We're now into the throttle down. Falcon 9 decreasing thrust to prepare for max Q, the highest amount of aerodynamic pressure.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Falcon 9 going faster than the speed of sound. The Merlin engines have throttled back up to full power.
Max Q.
And now we're through the period of maximum dynamic pressure where the stresses are greatest on the Falcon 9. T-plus 1 minute 30 seconds. Everything continues to be nominal on Falcon 9. Trajectory looking good on the first stage. We should hear a call out here shortly. MVAC-D chill-in.
MVAC engine chill has begun.
Getting the second stage engine ready for ignition coming up very shortly here. We're getting ready for main engine cutoff, stage separation. The first stage will head back to the launch site. The second stage will ignite and head to orbit.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
And there you've heard it. And we maybe even saw all those 5 events that happened back to back. Now currently on the screen, the first stage has begun its flip maneuver to reorient the nose back towards Vandenberg, and we have lit 3 Merlin engines. This is the boost back burn, the first of 3 burns the first stage will execute. This burn lasts a duration of about 48 seconds. Now, while the burn's in progress, we'll also be having events on the second stage, but we may not be hearing those, and we won't be broadcasting the second stage camera views at the request of our customer.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And we did hear fairing separation over the net. Boost back burn shutdown is coming up.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
Right on time, we've got shutdown of the 3 Merlin engines. We'll next be waiting to see the titanium grid fins begin their deploy now that the boost back burn is complete. And here come the fins. Pin pullers releasing and the 4 titanium grid fins beginning their slow deploy. We're coming up on 4 minutes into launch. Now with that boost back burn done, our first stage will be attempting its landing in just 4 minutes at T+8 minute mark. We're now heading back to the launch and landing site at Slick 4, but you'll notice the first stage has continued to coast up to apogee. You can see there on the screen we've got the altitude and speed indicators of the first stage, 132 kilometers, and now we'll begin descending back down towards the Earth's atmosphere. Now there will be 2 more burns of the first stage engines. One will be the entry burn. That's the next one up, again, where 3 of the Merlin engines will reignite, the same 3 we just used on that boost back to head it back to Vandenberg. There's a view looking out of the inner stage on the first stage. Second stage now gone, but that gives you an idea if you were sitting inside the inner stage what the view looks like out of it. There's a view. We're slowly getting some of the ocean and California clouds as the first stage continues to orient and head back towards the landing zone. Now the entry burn that I mentioned, it'll be coming up. That'll be to help slow the stage down in preparation for entry
Both
back.
vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
We got a good call out there. Everybody's on nominal trajectories. You may be able to see on the right-hand side above that right grid fin that kind of whiter squiggly line. I think that may be the contrail from the liftoff of the Falcon 9 as we're heading back right towards about that spot, 1,400 feet away from the liftoff. Now you can see the altitude decreasing. We're down to just inside the 100 kilometer point. Velocity is picking up again. The entry burn will light and that'll scrub off some of that speed. Now in the vacuum of space you can see these white pulses. That's nitrogen gas from attitude control thrusters on the inner stage. They're being used to orient and aim the launch vehicle first stage. These thrusters are up on the inner stage near the top of the first stage. Now right now you can see the grid fins aren't doing anything, but once we get back into the atmosphere, look for them to begin moving because it's in the denser air that these fins provide that steering that we need of the vehicle during descent. Right now we're waiting for the entry burn to begin.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
We've heard startup. There's the center engine is lit. And now we've got 2 more engines up, changing the shape of the plume. Now if you're watching the speed display, you'll notice the velocity is quickly coming down. Now this burn will last about 21 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And we've got shutdown of the entry burn. And if you're watching that speed display, you'll notice we took out about half of the velocity of the first stage. We've still got 1 more burn to go, and that's the landing burn. Now during the first stage landing burn, the center Merlin engine will relight and slow the vehicle down for its second landing attempt back on land, not too far from our launch site.
Stage 1 FTS is safed.
Flight termination system on the first stage has now been safed. Landing burn coming up in about 10 seconds.
Stage 1 is transonic. Stage 2 FTS is safed. Stage 1 landing burn.
We've got landing burn. You see the grid fins beginning to operate. Waiting to come through the cloud deck for a view of landing zone 4 at the old Slick 4 West at Vandenberg.
Landing leg
You from the
deployed.
ground camera, landing legs deploying.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And as you see on your screen, the Falcon 9 first stage has successfully landed at our landing zone, making this the second consecutive landing for this booster. And it also marks our 114th overall successful recovery of a first stage booster. Now, since we just finished the landing of the first stage, at the request of our customer, we are concluding our webcast coverage early today. We want to thank the NRO and the U.S. Space Force for entrusting us with today's launch. And of course, thank you to all of you for joining us, and hope you'll all enjoy the rest of your weekend.